right, everyone. Welcome to a little bit of a different podcast today. We're going to be talking about a project that we've had in the works now for a while, mostly spearheaded by our very own Cassia. This is something that she's been wanting to do, and if you've followed along with us on our Discord at all, you're probably a little bit familiar with the project. But Cassia wrote an audio drama, and we're producing it and getting it put out into the world, and today we're going to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, it'll be fun to be in the hot seat. I hope you ask some really hard-hitting questions, and yeah, it'll be fun.
It will be fun, yeah. So we thought it would be a good idea because, a lot of people that listen to the podcast aren't familiar with the project. So we wanted to just do kind of a Q&A kind of thing. So I'm going to ask some questions of Cassia, who's, written this audio drama, which is pretty awesome. So I've, been fortunate enough to see kind of the workings, some of the behind the scenes stuff of it, see the early drafts and where we're at now. And then if you are following on our YouTube, when this episode goes live, we're going to be posting the first teaser trailer for that. And if you're a member of our Patreon, which is www.patreon.com/oldrepublicpodcast, we're going to actually have the first kind of rough edit of the first chapter of this story that Cassia is telling there. So if you want to do that, get updates on the how the production's going, behind the scenes kind of stuff like that. Go check that out. That is a really good way to do it. But for now, Cassia, let's get into this Q&A kind of thing. And, obviously, you're telling the story. It is a audio drama based on Bastila Shan. Obviously it is a favorite character from the Knights of the Old Republic world, and we've talked about Knights of the Old Republic a lot, obviously, on the podcast. That's kind of the main theme of it. So we've covered these questions a little bit, but why don't you give everyone who might be new or haven't heard, what was your first introduction to Kotor?
I'd heard about Exar Kun and Ulick Queldrama and Nomi Sunrider, but I was on the bus and my friend was talking about a new Star Wars game that was coming out, and he's like, it has some spoilers, in case, you're gonna play it. I don't want to tell you. And I'm like, I'm never gonna play it. Just tell me the spoilers. So he told me, the Darth Revan, reveal thing on the bus before I even played it. So that was my first introduction to Knights of the Old Republic, and I ended up picking up Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that is quite the spoiler warning there from the bus ride. Obviously that ultimate twist that had us all kind of shaken as we were playing the game, and that's cool. That is a very interesting way to get into a game, to have the ending of it spoiled to you before you actually play it. But it seems like that might have worked out pretty good for you, because obviously you hear all of these episodes later. It's very apparent to me and everyone else that you are a big Knights of the Old Republic fan. So Cassia, kind of at what point in playing the game and learning about the game and maybe some of those other kind of adjacent stories, when did you start to, think of Knights of the Old Republic as, something more, something that transcends, just a video game or just a Star Wars story?
Pretty much when I played 1 and 2 and kind of was learning the ropes and kind of felt comfortable playing the games. I wasn't scared of rat ghouls,
Mm-hmm.
In a way, I think they're just more than video games, so it kind of came naturally that I just kind of saw them as a really well written Star Wars story. And this is when the prequels were coming out, and sometimes a lot of the critics are like, oh, the prequels, they're so bad, but KOTOR is the best Star Wars right now. So everyone could kind of get behind them. So I played KOTOR as I secretly loved the prequels with the passion of an undying love, and just love Star Wars, and it was the closest you could really get to being pretending you were in a Star Wars galaxy. You could choose your character, choose your name, all that. So it was just a fun video game series to grow up with. So I think that's kind of how it became more than a video game.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think there's something, very special about kind of the world and putting yourself into it, and kind of depending on where you're at in your life, we all have kind of different entry points into Star Wars. So if that is something that definitely kind of took a hold of you and you started thinking about more about the characters and the story, stuff like that, and that's pretty awesome. Which I'm guessing then, kind of thinking about this game, this story, these characters a little bit more, kind of led to, the starting of the Ebonhawk podcast and now the Old Republic podcast.
Yeah, so back in 2019, there was a BuzzFeed article about Leia Calligridis adapting Knights of the Old Republic into a movie. I don't think that's happening anymore, but I was just excited, and because I love the game so much, and I just saw like a lot of Star Wars and entertainment podcasts were covering it, but there wasn't really just like a Knights of the Old Republic podcast. There were some SWTOR ones, but not like just like Knights of the Old Republic. And I was like, do you know what? Why not me? So Coden helped me out, and then eventually you came aboard, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's kind of why I first found the podcast, right? Was because it was centered on this Knights of the Old Republic story that I knew and loved, and this was really the kind of the best resource for it, and in kind of a conversational sort of medium. So I was instantly drawn to it from that, and then obviously was able to participate and come on board then later. So very cool. Now, going back to the story here a little bit. So, as you mentioned, it was a video game. It was something that you really kind of grew to love. Was there a certain point in playing the game or thinking about the game, or related to starting the podcast, or when did you start thinking about telling your own kind of Kotor story? And this one that you're telling, is Kotor Bastila, so it's kind of Bastila's perspective through the first Knights of the Old Republic game. But when did you start thinking about that? And kind of like a story structure thing. Was it just an idea that you're like, oh, that would be really neat if Bastila did that, or was it more like, oh man, this is a story I would really like to tell, or how did that kind of come into being?
So back in episode 22, which is about Bastila, I kind of realized, like, oh, like, Bastila is kind of, like, I was able to kind of, like, place the character arc, and I'm like, she's, like, a put-upon honor student who's sheltered, and then goes through a phase, and then can either go to the extreme dark or to the true light, And I was able to kind of place that and kind of understand Bastila, more than just like a secondary character, even though I don't think she's a secondary character at all. She's not just a foil, she's maybe like the main driver of the Kotor saga, And so kind of like those thoughts in episode 22 were at the back of my mind, and we did an episode about fan films, and we each kind of pitched our own fan films, and I was like, why not, like, have a Jedi Strike team, like, kind of show that, because we haven't really seen that in a rich, like, narrative perspective, and I kind of pitched it, like, the images just kind of came to me. Sometimes stories just do that, and I don't really know how to explain it, and then there was a certain time where I was just like, I just need to write this down, make some sketches, and scripting kind of took a year. Kind of like getting back into the screenwriting, writing kind of thing after COVID was a bit of a transition, but I'm not a perfect screenwriter. I'm not a perfect writer, but I'm proud of the work I did, and I had lots of great beta editors, including you, and Marcus helped me write some of the action scenes because I'm like, I cannot do action to save the life of me. and lots of people read it, gave me some great feedback, who know who they are, and so yeah, scripting took a year, and then I edited it, and then I was like, instead of being a screenplay, I think like I know a lot of like great vocal artists, like voice actors. Why not make this something we can share in the podcast, like an audio drama? And like, I'm not a perfect audio dramatist writer, because I think there's not enough dialogue from like some of the main characters to really make it a good audio drama, like in part one. I'm just kind of talking about my shortcomings, and maybe I should have shown more perspective from the Jedi Strike team rather than just kind of have them unseen, in some aspects and that. But it's a learning perspective, and anyone can do it. And if I can do it, you can do it, So
yeah,
for the people out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone can do it, and anyone should, express themselves and get their art out into the world. I think that's very true. But you'd said this was kind of something you were kind of learning as you went, and things like that. You do have a bit of a writing background. Had you ever written anything like screenplay wise? Either for like academic purposes or like other things that you might have just like dabbled in trying to tell stories of, or.
For academic purposes, that's what my undergrad and graduate degrees are in, is like writing, without like getting like too much into it. Like, I think I've always like felt more free to write academically, and I've always kind of been scared to just kind of write for myself. But after Corona, I'm like, what am I scared of? I'll write, and like, kind of just like, even if it's just for me and a couple of friends, like that's okay. I'm just gonna write, and that's where the Bastila triptych came from. Knights of the Old Republic, Bastila. It's broken up into 3 sections. We'll talk more about those later. But yeah, I did have some screenplay experience in my undergrad, and I mentioned my friend Ian on some of the episodes, I think 15 and 12, and he was on my screenplay team, and we'd always kind of pitch some stuff, write some stuff, and that's where I learned screenwriting, is in my undergrad. I did write a screenplay. Haven't really done anything with it, but it was a good learning experience, and I've always loved the format of screenplay. I'm still learning, just trying to read scripts and stuff. Probably not going to do anything with it, but it's just fun, and it's okay just to have fun being creative. It doesn't have to be like something that you pay the bills with,
Yeah, absolutely. And screenplays are pretty fun. I've not ever written one myself. I've never sat down and put pen to paper, but it seems like in, kind of reading through yours and, going over and kind of doing some, like proofreading and editing and, just kind of running through the story a little bit. It seems like it takes a lot of different kind of skills, I guess, when it comes to writing, because you're writing it, obviously, but then you're also having to, describe the settings, do the dialogue, work on like your stage cues and your camera cues and stuff. So it's a lot of different sort of aspects to writing it. It's not just writing like a narrative story. It's much more kind of structured, and things like that. So you'd mentioned, Cassia, that you had studied a little bit of this in school and done a little bit of writing, but you decide to write Bastila. You decide to make this audio drama thing here that you're putting on for everyone. What were like the first stages of that? Like you sat down and you're like, I want to write this, or did you go back to what you learned in the past, or you just started kind of writing the story and then changed the structure of it to be more of like the audio drama, kind of screenplay sort of structure, or how did that work? What was getting started like?
Um, I had the thoughts from the fan film episode kind of in the back of my head. I wrote down, I always begin with a list when I write. Like, I don't know why I begin with lists, but I wrote down like all the scenes I thought I would need. And after this, I really kind of hate doing space battles because I'm like, is this space battle too long at the beginning? And like kind of figuring out ways to make that visually appealing, narratively appealing, and potentially appealing to like an audience was kind of hard. And I'm like, did we accomplish that? I don't know. But so it was kind of like writing down all the scenes and then getting final draft and then getting the butt in the seat and just writing it. And the thing about writing is like 99% of it is like making excuses for not writing. And then you have to do the
Sure.
1% and actually just write it down. And like sometimes it can be really painful to take something and just like work at it and make it the best possible narrative it can be. But like the funny thing is like you end up kind of liking it, like the hard part of the creative process. Like it's all part of the process and it's hard, and I don't know if it ever gets easier when you write, but that's how it was for me. And it's kind of easier to get creative when you stretch those creative muscles. And uh, yeah, the early stages like kind of just begin with thoughts, and then you kind of write down like scene by scene what needs to be accomplished, like in a list. And then I did write or I drew some sketches and they're bad. I think I've since gotten rid of them because I'm like, here's Bastila, and then here's Revan, and then here's Malik. Here's what I'm thinking like the reveal will be. And like people are like, those are stick figures. They look like it's a crime scene and they died and they drew things around the bodies. And I'm
Oh
like,
no.
okay, well, thank you for like saying it that way, but that's kind of what it began with. So it's a
Yeah.
hard process, but it's worth it.
Yeah, no. You have to keep those drawings because we're going to need them if we ever put together like an art of Kotor Bastila, the audio drama book. We need that. We
Yeah.
need the early sketches. So go dig those out of the trash. Don't throw them away.
Okay.
Keep
Okay.
those. We'll we'll archive them in the archives of the Old Republic podcast. I think that's what we
Okay.
need to do.
Oh, okay.
All right, so you've put pen to paper. You have written this narrative screenplay. It's amazing. Very excited
Oh.
to get it out into the world. So everyone out there listening is also very excited about listening to it, no doubt. So what can you tell us about the story, Cassia? Can you give us like a synopsis of the story? What's going on in this audio drama?
Yeah, so Kotor Bastila is a triptych because I was like, I think it works better if it's broken up into three sections rather than just being one really long thing. Um, and it's kind of makes for an easier production to break it up into three rather than having one very long uh, screenplay for a narrator to read, you know? So the first part of the triptych is called Kotor Strike, and that's about the strike team. And uh, then the second part is called Kotor Identity, and that's kind of about how Revan is reprogrammed on Dantooine and comes to be on the Endar Spire. And then the third part is called Kotor Trust, and you kind of see a little bit of Knights of the Old Republic, kind of retold the emotional points from Bastila's point of view, And I'm really just like, I like the ending because it ends in a place where I don't think a lot of people would think it ends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I would describe it. Would you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's broken up really nicely into kind of these three parts, and it starts, kind of the story and the, kind of immediate like beforehand, before we get into, like the game Knights of the Old Republic, and I think that that's a story, just in knowing you and talking to you, that's always been a story that you've been really interested in, and I think that that's really well done, and it lays it out, and it's for me, what I've seen from it, and just kind of reading through it. We're working on kind of this first section now, but getting a chance to read the bulk of the rest of the story. I really like the way that you've handled it, because it touches on all of the things that we know. But it leaves a lot of room to explore some things that we don't know. It doesn't really dwell on stuff it doesn't need to. I think that it has a really nice pacing to it, and I think people are really going to enjoy the experience of hearing the story kind of told in this way and narrated this way.
Yeah. And we have a lot of incredible voice actors and actresses. And when the full thing is, well, all three chapters are released, we will credit everyone and you'll get to hear how amazing they are. I'm just so excited for everyone to kind of hear what they've done. And it's not just me, it's a huge team of talented people. This is my first time like sort of directing and kind of
Mm-hmm.
doing this. So I feel like I'm just like working with professionals and I'm just like, can you kind of do that like but for like no money, and sometimes I feel guilty about that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, yeah, we there are definitely a lot of really good creative people here that are helping getting this thing put together. So I think that once we finally get the final product out there, and obviously we have the rough cut out there now, so you're going to be familiar with a lot of the people. It's going to be some new people that are kind of new to the Old Republic podcast family. So yeah, just a lot of really good creative people helping to pull all of this thing together, which is a really good transition to my next question I have for you, Cassia. So we've got the teaser trailer ready. Go to YouTube right now and watch it, because it also has like the logo reveal. And I'm probably going to plug it in right now so you can listen to it. So enjoy the 60 seconds of teaser trailer right now.
Yeah.
A handful of Jedi made it through. Lord Revan must be their objective.
Brace for impact.
Why isn't Shan using her battle meditation?
Let's remind the Jedi what happens when the weak seek to match metal with the Dark Lords of the Sith. Sir, from the surviving officer's reports, Lord Revan has gone down with the ship.
He's still alive.
All right, and so with the teaser trailers out there, we've got the rough cut available on Patreon. I've mentioned a couple of times. So what you've seen out of the project so far. So back when Cassia starts writing this thing, to where we're at right now with the rough cut out there. We've got the narration done. We've got a lot of the voice acting here for the first section for Strike. Is it lining up with what you had in your head when you thought that this could maybe be an audio drama, or has it changed, or did you have to make any like substantial changes to what you were trying to do, because you're writing it and then you're like, oh, that doesn't work as an audio drama at all, we need to do this, or that works way better than I thought, or what's kind of that process been like now that you're done writing it and it's starting to actually become more tangible, I guess?
I think screenplays and audio dramas are closer related than people think. Perhaps I should have like added more visual cues into the audio drama form of things. But I don't know. Like I originally envisioned maybe like sketches, like kind of like a storyboard, but that just kind of was, it was hard to find an artist who could do that. So I'm like, you know what, first thing we can just release the audio drama, and then maybe later down the line we can get someone to sketch it out. But I'm proud of what we're accomplishing, and I think in the future I'll kind of know more about audio dramas and kind of how to do them, and it's a good learning experience. And maybe in the future we'll do your audio drama or something else, but it would be fun.
Absolutely. And, audio dramas are really pretty great. Obviously we run the podcast, which is, more or less an audio, I don't know, audio drama, audio nonfiction, audio fan fiction. It's kind of all of those things. But Star Wars has like a super long history of doing like radio drama type things, right? So they did like the original like Star Wars like audio drama back in like, I think it was like 1981 that they did on NPR. Then there's been a bunch of other stuff like the Dooku Jedi Lost, the Dr. Aphra. There was just a High Republic one, which I'm drawing a blank on the name of that one right now, but there's
Dooku, I think it's Jedi Lost.
Yeah, Dooku Jedi Lost and Dr. Aphra, and then like I said, I think there's a new one in the High Republic world too. So Rebel Mission to Orb Mantell, which got like a little bit of a bump from the Bad Batch. But yeah, this very long history of audio dramas in the Star Wars world. So I think that it's cool to to be part of something that's contributing to that kind of long legacy and things. And I think that it's been really fun to kind of see the inner workings of it, see all of the work that you've done, and then see all of the work that all of the other voice actors and composers and everyone that's kind of coming together to get this story told, I think has been awesome. So we made a lot of really good progress on this. Have the teaser trailers out now, so hopefully we're going to have kind of the full thing here in the not so distant future. But from your standpoint, Cassia, this is kind of your project here. Has this thing been enjoyable? Has this been something that you have liked? Is it something you'd like to do it again, maybe? Or
yeah, it's been enjoyable. Sometimes the obstacle is the way, but everything has been a new challenge. Sometimes it's nerve-wracking, but it's just fun to kind of be creative and put it out there for the people who want to listen to it. And I don't really have any big plans. It's I don't know, it doesn't need to go viral. It's just, it's there for the people who, are drawn to Knights of the Old Republic like we are, and if you guys like our pod too, that's great, I just love these characters. Bastila is just very interesting to me, and I was like, you know what? I think she needs something kind of about her and her intersections with Revan and Malak and the Jedi Council. So that's why this is here. So, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. It is definitely a story that is worth telling, and it's a story that's worth kind of examining under a different lens. Because even, within the Knights of the Old Republic, everything you see is kind of, very, very Revan-centric, right? I mean, obviously, that is the player protagonist in the game, so that's kind of the perspective you're seeing all of this stuff on. So I think it's really cool when you're able to kind of, dissect characters in a certain way and kind of make them the main character of their own story. I think is interesting, and I think it's a fun exercise, and I think it's really cool for you to be able to do this. So Cassia, Kotor, Bastila, the audio drama, it's clipping right along, but what are kind of the next big steps we need to tackle now that we've got kind of this first rough cut? We've got most of the voice work done. What's next on the horizon here for this project?
We'll add to the voices and the narration some sound effects and maybe some music. So we'll release that triptych, and then maybe in the future we'll release a fanfic, fan teaser for Spaceship Earth because I just love Spaceship Earth. So, yeah, that's what's on the horizon for me. But what I'm interested in is if you were to do an audio drama, what would your pitch be?
Oh man, so I mean, there could be a lot of good things. Like instantly, we think of our favorite characters being Bastila, my favorite character being Jolie, but someone already beat me to that, Marcus. But that's okay. He's doing a way better job than I could anyway. So I don't know. I would really have to think about it. I would like to see maybe something in the realm of maybe something from like Zalbar's perspective. Being banished from his home and how he meets Mission and kind of their action together. That's something we've talked about as we talk about potential like Kotor side projects, like seeing something with those two. So I think something from like especially Zalbar's perspective, because we never really got anything like strictly from Chewbacca's perspective that I'm aware of anyway. I think that would be really interesting, and you could get into some of kind of the Wookiee like lore and stuff like that. I think that would be really cool to kind of explore, and it'd be something completely different than other things that we've seen throughout the Star Wars world.
Yeah. Zalbar and, I don't know, T3's Tales of Terror. I think it has a ring to it,
That's
and
right, yeah.
You could spell terror like T3RROR. I don't know.
That's right, yeah. That gives me a very excellent idea for a Halloween episode, so stay tuned for that. And the best way to stay tuned to all of our stuff is to, of course, follow us on your podcast platforms, so Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and if you do follow us there, please leave us a 5-star review, because that helps Old Republic Podcasts get out there, gets us into more ears, and then, we want to get as many ears on the Kotor Bastila audio drama as possible, so 5-star reviews definitely help. And if you want to stay up to date on what we've got going on the project, Patreon's the best way to do that. Again, it's www.patreon.com/oldrepublicpodcast. You can also kind of follow along on our Discord, where we talk about things and bounce ideas around. If you're interested in getting joined up onto the Discord, just shoot me a message on Twitter. It's at Old Republic Pod, or on my personal Instagram, which is at Astro_Droid_, and I'll get you into there. So let us know that, but let us know what you think about the audio drama so far. Let us know. Go over to YouTube, watch the little teaser trailer, and leave us some comments. Let us know what you're excited about hearing, and hopefully this does really well, because Cassia has put a ton of work into it, and it's coming along awesome, and I think it's going to be great. And I want to say a thank you to Cassia, because I don't know. We're talking through computers across the country right now, but you're on the I don't know, the bright light side of the microphone this time, having all the attention shown on you. Normally, you and I are the ones doing the interviews, but you're in the hot seat today, I guess.
Yeah, and thank you for the great questions and for interviewing me, and it's always fun, and you've put a lot of work into this too, and I'm very appreciative, and I hope people know how much you do for the pod and for the audio drama.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that, and thank you for everyone for listening. So, like I said, keep an eye on it. We've got this project coming, and it's going to be out there, and we hope that everyone enjoys it, and we hope that everyone enjoyed this episode to dig into a little bit about the inner workings of what goes into putting something like an audio drama together. So, thanks everyone for joining us.
May the final draft be with you.